hard to read the Torah sometimes in any metaphorical or allegorical way, and certainly the Torah portion that begins, Ki tetzeh le'milchama lo'ovecha, when you will go out to war against your enemies. It's hard to move from its simple, straightforward meaning into a more allegorical, metaphorical, abstract idea. But I'll tell you, this last weekend I was invited to a bar mitzvah that I've been waiting to go to for 13 years. A friend of mine, friend of my wife's, our family, his eldest son was in bar mitzvah on this weekend, and we looked forward to it for a very long time. And this friend is a very interesting, very wide soul, wide person, big mind, big heart, big capacity to hold lots of different ideas, very brilliant family, himself, his wife. And so 13 years ago, we knew that it was going to be an interesting bar mitzvah. But given the capacity this person has to hold many different leaders with many different perspectives from within the Jewish community, the diversity that I expected this last weekend was making me a bit anxious. Anxious to be in the room with people who over the past 11 months went from being people that I agree with in a very deep way to people that I disagree with in a very deep way. And what was remarkable over the weekend was it was civil and great. There was someone at the bar mitzvah who stands ideologically as far away from where I am on the current situation in Israel that you can imagine. And there weren't a few of us who felt that way. But before 11 months ago, somebody that, although we disagreed 11 months ago, I was fascinated to be in a conversation with this person. And things have become so toxic and divisive that in anticipation, I couldn't have known what it was going to feel like, but I knew in my heart that if anything is true about me over my life, is that I fancy myself as someone who can stay in the room with uncomfortable feelings in my body, in my heart, my mind. And in a way, sitting in that communal area as people gathered to have what I think everybody was nervous was going to become a brawl, and to have it become inquiry, have it become mystery, curiosity, good questions, stalemates. Well, what do you do with this? What do you do with that? Well, it's interesting you're seeing it that way because I see it this way. I think you're naive. I think you're naive. And then to get up and go sing and dance for the bar mitzvah boy. And I realized that over the last 11 months, in moments of deep pain over the matzav, over the situation there, and now certainly remarkable pain over the situation here too, which we anticipated as we're entering into the high holidays election cycle, that I just wanted to sit, as it were, like grieves. I was going to say, not sit shiva, but like grieve over the loss of that part of my personal, I don't know, I'll speak for myself, I don't know about you, with a sense that we can sit and disagree and still see one another's humanity. Not saying that there aren't lines. Everybody draws a line. There's no universe in which there aren't lines. A borderless universe, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, it's not possible. There was something that happened in the room that was a throwback. This coming Sunday night at the 92nd Street Y, I'll be introducing an organization that is known as the Parents Circle or the Bereavement Circle. It's an organization that came to Romemu over a decade ago, a community that I was very connected to, and unimaginably, at this moment, the parents of victims of terror who are Israeli and Jewish, and families of those killed who are Palestinian, parents essentially coming together in what they're calling a program called Holding On to Humanity. And so back to the portion this week, a portion that I said is hard to read metaphorically, allegorically. It's about, begins with going to war, and then it goes into a very morally problematic and ethically dark piece of the Torah, if understood from the lens of our own moral compass. That moment, maybe again, often Torah is progressive in its time, but shockingly regressive for ours. Torah imagines that you go to war, and during war, you see a beautiful woman. There are Isa Bashivya, amongst those who are taken captive, you see a beautiful woman, and you can imagine how hard it is to think allegorically at this moment because it's so visceral and it's so painful and searing for us. But in the 13th century, the Zohar, the holy book of Jewish mysticism, the Bible of Jewish mystical thought, said that the Eshes Yifas Toar, this beautiful woman that is seen in captivity, is none other, the Zohar says, than the divine feminine presence, the Shekhinah. And unlike maybe the last 800 years, we can both hold the intensity of this text and its regressive elements and what might be triggering, alongside this beautiful, allegorical, metaphorical attempt to redeem the text, to redeem this text. There are Isa Bashivya Eshes Yifas Toar. For a moment, by the way, parenthetically, rules about how to treat prisoners of war. There are rules. Okay, they're 2,000 years old. We need an upgrade, but rules. But let's go with the Zohar. You see in the midst of a war, a battle, something beautiful. In the middle of a dark period, in the middle of destruction, in the middle of despair, you see beauty. That alone would be a Torah for tonight. That in the midst of everything that feels ugly, to have an eye that can discern beauty. In the battlefield of ideas, in the battlefield of values, in the battlefield wherever your battles might be, that you have eyes that can still see beauty. And that you recognize it, that you want beauty. Woman came over in between Kabbalat Shabbat, she's still here, she said, do you have CDs? I love this music. That in the Greek tripartite division of the world into the good, the true, and the beautiful, we need the good, we need the true, but oh, do we need the beautiful. Isha, Eshes Yifas Toar. You saw beauty, v'chashakta, and you felt alive again. After a year of divisiveness and trauma, after a year of ongoing. And I'll say somebody just for a moment about what's going on in Israel for a moment without, it's not at all political. How could Israelis be on the beaches when everything is going on? Starving. Parched for beauty, parched. Who can blame them? Who can blame anyone? Can blame anybody who in the midst of all of this wants, not as an escape, but as a holding on to humanity. These mothers that will sit on the stage at 90 Seconds to Why on Sunday night with Tina Brown, will be moderating the conversation, have lost the most precious, precious relationship, the greatest loss anyone can imagine. Mothers who will say how their beautiful child was taken. He was only 13, he was only 8, he was 12. He was walking in the park in Jerusalem, he was in Ramallah. The Ra'isa Bashivya, and they see in the midst of that beauty. They cross the chasm of inevitable cycles of violence and the perpetuation of the ugly, the assembling of the world of beauty. And they saw it and they remembered and they wanted more. It's not easy. It's not easy in the midst of it all to sit across from someone, lahavdil, who was someone you were suspicious of, who was outside, who was beyond the line. I'm not advocating. Please don't tell me to advocate. I don't know. Who knows when it will be right for you, me, anyone, but to keep looking for beauty in one another, to keep searching for beauty in one another might not be a political strategy. It might not be smart if you're running for the most powerful job in the world. I don't know. I've forgotten. I don't know how to speak to that. At this moment, there's such an emergency. They go high, we go low, low, high. Are they short? Are they small? I don't know the way that politicians have to speak in order to have an impact. I don't know. I'm not a politician, thank God. Really, thank God. I'm just interested in what happens to this right here and this. When I look into the world and I sit across from someone whose ideas I disagree with and I think are naive, maybe even dangerous, but I say, I see your humanity. And we can talk. I don't know how long it will take to rebuild a world like that, or if it ever was true. I don't know. It felt, at least in my life, that was possible, to stay in the room with that, to look for the beauty in one another. But I shudder to think what the world will be like if we stop looking for it. I shudder to think of a world in which we don't stop to hear the music and want to take it with us, want to take it home with us. So as we are making our way to Rosh Hashanah this year, in what is undoubtedly, in my lifetime, there's never been an Elul like this. There's never been a Rosh Hashanah like this, ever. Not even in 2001, exactly. Just a spiritual practice to keep looking for the beauty in others and in ourselves. The Ra'isa, and you'll see. May God bless us with beauty, visible and not yet visible. And may we build a world where the beauty in all is honored.